It's been a fun day. And I mean, where else can you take your burger and fries into a talk, huh? And like grown-ups, where else can you take pints into a talk? Okay, so, got what, sorry? Wine in a mug, okay, yeah, but it looks like a pint mug, let's be fair, madam. We're going to start with a little bit of film, one of those moving picture jobs, just to get you in the mood.
Basically, we're going backwards quicker than we're going north. We've just capsized. He came over quite quickly. I'm a bit concerned because water came in and I don't know where from. I don't know if I'm hallucinating. Now. I knew it was going to be rough, but I didn't realise it was going to be this rough. Being tired is no excuse, Outen. Come on! Really tough. It's now officially just me and Hercules. Nice.
So, as you've probably noticed if you read the words on that, it's a little bit out of sync. I am now totally home from my expedition, so please don't follow us home tonight because the tent's not big enough. But yeah, that was just to bring some of it to life for you. Hey, little person in the stripy top, do you want a seat? We've got a seat down the front if you want to come and sit at the front. Good standing, like it. So, I'm going to talk about my London to London via the world journey, which is my most recent gig. It was quite a long one, and I was late coming home by 2 years, so it got even longer as I went along, really. But I'm going to go right back to the start and just explain a little bit of kind of how I got to be doing some quite big journeys. And I imagine it feels like it's probably quite similar to everyone here as well. We've got a warm audience. We're all outdoorsy, adventurous souls in whatever way that means to us. And certainly for my family growing up, it wasn't quite like Tom and Tom's dad over there biking for 2,000 miles in a summer holiday, but we did spend a lot of time outside as a family. And I think that's one of the most powerful things you can give your kids, is that time outside doing just kind of not even massive stuff, but it's cool and transformative and special. So we spent a lot of time out walking the dogs. We were not a sort of a cover family for Ordnance Survey, as the picture suggests, and I'm really happy to say my dad didn't always wear shorts that were that short. I've got my eyes closed, see? Like, Dad, please. And when I was 12, we were living in Rutland, which is a real place. Most people don't know that it is, but it's a little tiny county, kind of in the roughly middle of England. There's a big lake there anyway. And my brother went kayaking there at the kayaking club at the weekends, and I thought, I want to be as good as my brother, I'm going to go. And discovered how much I love to be on the water. I'm really scared of being in it. I mean, I love it, but I'm quite scared of it, like what's going to eat your toes. But I loved being on it, and I particularly discovered how much I loved moving from one place to another, like actual journeying. So here we've got a picture when I was 17. I should have been revising for my AS levels. I've probably got some books in the front or something, but it's my half term when I was 17 with the kayaking club. We've gone up to Scotland, and wow, just mind blowing. And it was probably about that time as well that Ellen MacArthur was absolutely kicking bottoms in the sailing world, and just being really, certainly for me as a young teenager, really inspiring to see a sort of a young woman out amongst the beards doing mega stuff, and sort of showing me that that sort of stuff was possible, those big journeys, because I'd never come across it before. And I sort of knew at that age that I had this sense that I always wanted to do journeys. I always wanted to be out. I love wildlife. I love the outdoors. I love that combination of using your brain and sort of your muscles and what's around you to be out in really good places. Like Alpkit says, go nice places, do good things. But I didn't quite imagine, I suppose, exactly where that would take me. I guess not many of us do we? That's the beauty of life. I went off to Oxford University and did some rowing. Apparently you can do it up the road at, what's that place called? Cambridgee or something? Whatever it's called. But what's that? What is that about? Call yourself a blue. Anyway, so I went to that university where we rowed better than the others. And I probably spent more time rowing than studying at times. And it was during my second year that I heard about ocean rowing through an email that just popped into my inbox one night. And I don't know if you've had it, but it was one of those moments that just kind of sets a fire underneath your bottom. And you think, that is what I'd like to do one day. Like, you can do that? Who knew you could row across an ocean? And so I had that idea then, I am going to do that one day. And I think that's a really cool thing. Kids, if ever there's anything you really think you want to do one day, you just hold on to that and don't let people say, oh no, I don't think you should do that. What if a shark eats your head off or something? It probably won't. But you just hold on to that, because if you believe in it, then you should absolutely go for it. So I thought it'd be good to go with people, because I wasn't going to go by myself. Who do I talk to? So I asked all my friends and family, hey, do you want to come rowing? I'd chosen the Indian Ocean because the Pacific is massive, the Atlantic, it's a bit of a motorway, it's quite busy, so I thought the Indian Ocean, that's what it's going to be. And I asked all my friends and family, they all said no. So I put the word out around the university and people said they were interested, they were keen. So I thought, okay, we'll get a team together and we'll figure it out. And 6 months on from that, life changed forever when my dad died, very suddenly and unexpectedly. And again, in an instant really, I knew that I wanted to row solo now. I wanted to use that journey as a way to get through the real rubbishness of losing somebody that you love really dearly. You do the two journeys as one. So that is how I came to find myself out in a little boat in 2009 across the Indian Ocean, rowing for 4 months, I think it was 4 months, having one of the scariest times of my life, but also one of the most incredible. It really did kind of blow my mind to live out at sea for that long, to be totally kind of immersed in the cycle of the weather and seeing phosphorescence in the water when you're paddling along at night, and having albatrosses with wings bigger than my arms stretched out come and cruise by and say hello. So it was a really special and powerful few months of my life, and it took 3 years of planning and figuring out and sort of finding the different bits of the jigsaw puzzle to get out there. Because as a student, I had less than no money, I still do, but sort of figuring out the finance side, how to build a boat, how to train, what to do, etc. But I'm a big believer that you don't have to know it all at the start, you just need to know that you want to do it. You can find people to help you make some big things happen, and so long as it's not rocket science, it's probably not going to be rocket science. So you just find people that believe in what you're doing as well and work hard to make it happen. And it feels like to me, you get a big sheet of paper and you say, okay, I'm here, I want to go here, and you kind of do all these loops and wiggles along the way to get to where you want to go. So 2009 was this journey, my sort of first really big journey, and I thought it would be a standalone. I thought I'd come home and be a teacher, But equally, the other side of that was out on the ocean. I'd not only sort of had my mind blown by the idea of being out at sea for an extended period, and I'd found I quite liked being by myself as well, but I'd also been really inspired by it, and by the sort of biology side, the geography side of things, and I really enjoyed sharing the stories. And I thought that I'd quite like to go and see some other oceans, and actually I'd quite like to see some people, because the only person I saw, I didn't even see him actually, out in the Indian Ocean, was one day my alarm was going off. That alarm means there's a boat nearby. So I jumped outside my cabin and I had a look, and there's a massive yellow boat coming towards me, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get squashed, this is horrible. So I'm trying to call him up on the radio, Prince of the Netherlands, this is Dippers, can you see me? And it goes, psst, yeah, this is the Prince of the Netherlands. Do you need assistance? Or are you just one of those mad adventurers? In with the latter. And so I thought it would be fun to meet people, wouldn't it? And I started planning, because there's a lot of time to think out at sea. I mean, people say, what do you do when you're out there? And I mean, there's a lot of rowing. That definitely happens. And probably next, there's a lot of sleeping. And, things like cleaning the boat and cleaning yourself and doing boat fixing tasks. So it's amazing how time flies. But one of the things that I did was to think about what happened next. And that kind of manifested itself in the beginnings of another journey, which, in my slightly naive 24-year-old head, I thought, well, okay, the ocean row was, big and challenging and huge, but, well, I did it. It wasn't rocket science. And so I thought, well, so surely you just repeat what you've kind of just done, and, well, that'll be a really cool adventure. As I say, 24 years old, there's that beautiful naivety of youth. And so my kind of squigglings and doodlings came out as a loop of the planet, the northern hemisphere. I decided I wanted to row the Pacific. It's massive, but I wanted to row the North Pacific. Amazing wildlife up there, lots of migration routes coming through. So I suppose, committed myself to going in an easterly direction. So when you're going across an ocean, these are your engines. You need to go with as much useful weather as possible, which means going eastwards, or going northerly, you need to go eastwards. So kind of committed myself to an eastwards direction. I wanted to start and finish in London so people could come and be a part of it, like my mum could wave me off and bring me home. And I really wanted to get schools involved as well, and get lots of sort of British schools I already had connections with following and come down to be there. So roughly the idea was, you'll get no guesses for no prizes for guessing which way around you do it, but a rowing boat for the ocean legs, because I could live aboard for months at a time, a bike for the land section, so in blue there, and the yellow bits were kayaking legs. So kayaking for the sort of shorter sections, the coastal sections, where you need to manoeuvre more readily. You need to be able to be much faster than in a rowing boat, which you're going to be, because it's that much smaller, and just logistically it's cheaper to get a kayak out to the middle of nowhere than it is to get a big rowing boat. So roughly that was the goal. I'm going to tell you later the route ended up being a little bit different. Originally my route was going to take me into Vancouver Island and across this part of North America. It ended up slightly different to that. What else to say? 2.5 years, that's what we thought. Ended up being 4.5 years. Best laid plans. And I was also raising money for charities. At the heart of it, I wanted a big journey, but I wanted to be able to share the benefits. So as I say, education projects with schools and also fundraising for charities. So Copperfield is a breast cancer awareness charity, check your boobs or somebody else's. Jubilee Sailing Trust is all about accessible sailing for people on tour ships. The Motor Neurone Disease Association supports people who suffer with that horrible disease and their families. And then WaterAid, all about fresh water and sanitation around the world. So that's the kind of whys and wherefores. And I set off from Tower Bridge on April Fool's Day 2011, feeling all sorts of crazy stuff inside. I was excited, I was happy to be there. It had taken 15 months of planning to get there. And I brought on a team of people, some volunteers, some professionals, to help make it happen and manage things whilst I was away. I'd be alone for the most part, but these folks at home would be supporting. And I set off, and it turned to be some of the craziest and most wonderful and scariest and most deadly few years of my life, I suppose. And I've put just this sort of these few pictures up just to show how much of the journey was about contrasts. I think that's why I love to travel, maybe you do too, to just see contrasts between places, be in different landscapes, environments, climates, seasons, people versus no people, and also the different ways of travelling. So we've got the rowing boat. We don't see a picture of the rowing boat, but there is a rowing boat on that journey, and sort of kayaking and biking. And here's a sort of an example of that contrast is farming around the world. We've got the massive grain silos out in the Midwest in the winter versus threshing the corn or winnowing the corn by hand in China, and then the sort of really neat and tiny fields of Japan in the autumn. Now, I had a team, as I said. Sometimes I'd be joined, very rarely really. So Justine is an amazing sea kayaker, Justine Kagenven. She came out with me to kayak with me because my kayak skills weren't good enough, weren't up to it. And so really she was there to make sure that I didn't die. And so far she's done a fantastic job. And Tim out on logistics. So sometimes with people, other times not. I was followed on my journey. These are yellowfin tuna out in the Pacific. Followed me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I know lots of you will be going, do you eat the fish? Well, funnily enough, on most of the journeys I haven't eaten fish because in my head they're friends, not food, when you're by yourself and you talk to them every day and you recognise them. But on the Atlantic I thought, right, that's it. Going to get me some protein. And I tried and I tried and I tried. And so the one time I didn't catch anything. But there we go. So followed sometimes. I joined other people's journeys at times, or they joined mine. This is Johan. You can find him at bikewanderer.com. Beautiful, beautiful human being. He's cycling around the world. We cycled together for a couple of days in Canada. I was welcomed into people's homes, into their lives, just for a few minutes or maybe a few days. Sometimes by sort of design, they contacted me, and other times just spontaneous hospitality. So out in the Aleutian Islands, these island communities are welcoming us into their patch, whereas at other times I was chased off other people's beaches. Do you know what the collective noun is for a group of sea lions? It's a honk. Yeah, anyway, they're massive and stinky, right? Don't get too close to one. Stinky, stinky beasts. So not everyone was pleased to see us. But I think one of the things that I loved and sort of found interesting about it was that reciprocal curiosity. I'm curious about the people and places that I'm seeing, and people are curious in the other direction. Sometimes a bit too curious. So in China, there's no sense of personal space at all. So people are kind of up close and really quite personal at times, like, oh, look at the size of your legs, look at the size of your biceps. One day someone came forward and she just, oh, yeah, crazy. Anyway, it was true in the reverse as well. So animals, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love travelling by human power, is that you're quiet. You're not intimidating. I mean, you're not intimidating on a bike to animals or to people. But I loved how wildlife seemed to be as interested in my boats as I was in them. And even the kids, do you know what this picture is here? What this animal is? At the back there? Normally there's an 8-year-old that knows it and a 10-year-old that knows the scientific name. Okay, this is a cool one. If ever you see it, it's one for the quiz. It's a sunfish. And it's massive. Can you see it kind of looks like a sun? Like a squashed sun? But anyway, it's huge. It's probably about as tall as I am. And if I do that, and it's just the slowest, most kind of gawpy looking, kind of cute thing in the ocean, I think. Really interested in the boat. I was just going to say travelling gives you different perspectives. I kayaked right through the middle of that ship. I mean, I'd obviously got so good that I just broke it in two as I went past. But I think alongside contrasts, that sort of contrast was a kind of connecting theme throughout the journey. I'd say another one was humility and being humbled. So being humbled by nature on the one hand. Here we are out in Japan 6 months after the tsunami of 2011 in March there. And so just sort of seeing how nature is absolutely the boss was humbling in that sense. And here we're helping Matsumura-san make a flower garden where her house once stood. There's a patch of, I don't know, maybe 4 square miles just where her house was that's just been totally razed, and they've declared no more houses will be built there ever. I mean, they probably shouldn't ever have been built there ever either, because all along that coastline of 700 kilometres of coastline just ruined by, or sort of affected by the tsunami. They found lots of stone tablets from sort of a couple of hundred years ago saying tsunamis have reached this height before, don't build here, but there they had. So that was humbling, and sort of seeing those situations, but then also how open people were to be sharing their stories and their sort of hopes and fears. That was also really humbling, as was, I suppose, the scale of nature. On the one side, out on the ocean, there's so much tiny stuff that is vast, you know, the plankton, the lungs of the planet, sort of so tiny but so vast, versus massive whales that might be as long as swimming pools, just kind of casually cruising by to sort of have a look, versus all the things we're often scared of, being up close to them, like the bears there in Alaska, play fighting. The one time when people say, you know, what was the most dangerous moment, it might not have been the most dangerous, but it was one of the scariest. Was one day I was having a shower in a stream in Alaska, you know, just like in the buff, having a wash, singing away. And I thought that I could see my kayaking partner. There was something moving out of the corner of my eye. And I looked up, and it wasn't my kayaking partner. It was a brown bear marching up the beach towards me, obviously wanted a hair wash as well. And so before that happened, I'd always thought, wow, when I see a bear, it's going to be this kind of high bear, you know, like something really spiritual. And I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. I just screamed and turned and ran out of the river and fell over, so made an even bigger splash, which meant the bear kind of came marching up even quicker to come and have a look. So, yeah, some things with big teeth also. And this fella here, out on the ocean, you get lots of birds out on the ocean, and lots of these little tiny petrels come dancing around the light on top of my boat at night, and then they fly into it and fall onto my boat and are trapped kind of all night long. And so I'll release them up into the air. And I remember the first time doing this, I thought, oh my goodness, little storm petrel, you go, just good luck out there. And then you realise the little storm petrel that looks all cute and tiny is way better adapted to life at sea than we are. So I'd say humility, definitely was a thing. And I suppose in the same way that thread of nature's boss and is all powerful, there's that sort of sorrowing examples of how humanity is being totally inhuman and kind of trashing the planet, not looking after the resources that we've got. Massive open cast mines in China reminded me of it. And here we've got a picture of a bear from Russia. Was a circus bear, and then by the time it had sort of outlived its circus days, can't be rewilded, was just taken off to live in a cage somewhere, which doesn't seem good to me. The ultimate sort of humility, I suppose, came in being rescued off the ocean in 2012. There was a big tropical storm, didn't go so well for me and my little boat. So being rescued by the Japan Coast Guard, and then another beautiful sort of show of generosity from strangers, kindness from strangers, was being given a resupply out in the Atlantic. So here I am by being given some flowers from some French sailors who'd rerouted to come and fill me up with some supplies. They gave me a 1 kilogram jar of peanut butter. How cool is that? Who knew it existed in buckets that big? So in Russia, before I went to Russia, people said to me, oh, are you going to take a Kalashnikov? It's so dangerous in Russia. And I had this idea, well, no, I want to be open-minded about where I'm going. And actually Russia and Kazakhstan, all part of that sort of Soviet bloc, turned out to be some of the most sort of hospitable and warm places. I was invited in for tea, for chai in Russia and Kazakhstan so often. Couldn't get enough of the stuff. In America, I was invited in for pie. This lady, Susie, stopped at the bottom of the creek. I'd just come down a really scary drop-off. I'm scared of heights as well as deep water, so coming down, squeezing my brakes, really scared, get to the bottom and the bus stops, and she says, "Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay, I'm scared. Can I give you a hug?" Normally, I'm really against strangers giving me hugs, so this thing is a bit weird, but on that occasion, definitely, hug was good. And in Russia, I was invited in for vodka. A lot of vodka. So Nadia's just taken me in for the night and is sending me off with vodka shots at 10 a.m. No joke. And she's just been in tears because she's worried that I'm going to die. So it did really feel like all these people around the world, well, they helped me get home. They helped me get away and sort of achieve my goals. And just by sharing, by being human, I suppose, for all the fact we've got borders and nationalities and all that rubbish and are we in or are we out, I just think we're people at the heart of it. We are human. And this picture was from Japan. And I think that's probably, I think humility. That's what I'd say from my journey. Yes, there were contrasts, but actually the connectors, that's the biggest message for me. There's a really cool story that I want to share with you. He's my favourite story, that old chestnut. And anyone who's heard me speak before, well, actually, there's a new bit to add to the story. Yeah, so in China, 2011, so the first part of the journey, if you remember back to the map, was kayak from London to France, hop onto Hercules the adventure bike, and cycle eastwards to the far east of Russia and then down to Japan. So through France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, into China, where this picture is taken. So this is me, and this is my new friend Gao. We met at a petrol station about half an hour before this picture was taken. I saw Gao looking at my bike outside, and a moment later he's next to me, asking if that's my bike outside. "Oh yes, that's Hercules the adventure bike." "Oh wow, cool. And where have you come from?" "I've come from London." "Oh wow, cool. And where are you going?" "London." "Oh wow, cool. I'm so proud of you." And he said that he would like to make a bike journey as well. But he said, "It looks really difficult. How do you do it?" I said, "Oh, it's just like riding a bike." I said, it's okay. Just get a bike and a bag and go for it. Just go and have a go. And I wished him luck. He wished me luck. Off I went, off he went. Half an hour down the road, here he is. Ding, 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 ding. Pulls up in his car, beeps the horn, runs across the road. "Sarah, you need a companion. I want to come with you on a bicycle to Beijing." Right, I don't know if you know the geography of China. If we're sort of over here, Beijing is about over here. This bit in the middle is the Gobi Desert. It's going to be hot there, and there's about 4,000 kilometres between where we are here and Beijing. And Gao wants to come. He's pulling up his sleeves to impress me, show him that he's got some muscle. And I was thinking, not too sure about this. I had a date in Beijing with one of my sponsors, so I thought, I've got to sprint there. And I was thinking, what if he dies in the Gobi Desert? And I have to tell his mum. I've not even met his mum yet. So I was thinking, not too sure about this. But meanwhile, Gao has out the atlas and is telling me all the places we're going to stop on the way, what we're going to see. I said, "Gao, the Gobi Desert, it's going to be really hot." He said, "Don't worry, we'll go at night when it's colder. We'll get food and water, it'll be okay." And a little bit like sitting at the desk thinking I'm going to row an ocean, there was a part of me that thought, of course he should come. Lots of people have helped me do journeys and help sort of teach me and let me make mistakes, and indeed they still do. So I thought, this will be perfect for Gao. And he's not going to die in the Gobi Desert. I won't let him because I don't want to tell his mother that. And so I said, okay, yes, how about we meet in 2 days' time? And I said, have you done much riding before? And he said, no, I don't have a bike. I'll go and buy a bike, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, being brave enough to ask a stranger if you can join their adventure is pretty good. And then you don't even have your bike sorted. My sort of respect for him went boom. So I wrote him a shopping list. Bike, tent. I underlined tent, get your own tent. And I said, okay, 2 days, let's go. So take a good look at Gao now, with his big floppy hair and showing me his muscles. And then 2 days later, here he is. It's a pretty good change, isn't it? I mean, obviously you can't have any hair if you're going to have an adventure. So he's skinned and he's got his bike. I told him he needed a name for his bike because I name all my things. Even the car has a name, but everything has a name. And at the end of that first day together, he said, Stranger. I call my bike Stranger. And I thought, that's apt, isn't it? Because, we're strangers at the moment. But I thought, your bum is going to be no stranger to the saddle in just a few days' time. What else is there to say? Big flag. Okay, so on the back of my bike, I've got some little flags, like the size of a postcard type flag. And Gao's brother had seen my flags and said to Gao, Gao, you need a Chinese flag, but it must be bigger than Sarah's. So there he is with his massive beach towel-sized flag billowing out behind him. I said to him before we left, I said, so, are you excited? He said, I'm always excited. And I thought, yeah, I get that from you. and I said, are you nervous? And he was like, oh, so nervous, I couldn't sleep last night. And he said, I want to take you for lunch, I want to treat you. He was so nervous he couldn't eat anything, so it was good for me. And so off we went. We went out cycling through Urumqi. Both of us a bit nervous, because I think nerves are good, right? People say, oh, I don't know how you do what you do, Sarah. I'd be so scared. Heck, I get scared too. It's okay to be scared. Don't ever be afraid of being scared. It's good. It means it's important to you, and it means you want to stay alive. So there we are, both wanting to stay alive and being a bit nervous of it all. We start off cycling through town and out down this kind of dual carriageway type thing. And Gao started shouting at me, and I saw some people just up ahead kind of waving, whoa, Sarah, Sarah, whoa. And Gao's going, Sarah, go faster! And at that point, he comes alongside with a bit of a sprint on, and all of a sudden, this line of things down the road just starts exploding. Firecrackers. His brother has set off a line of firecrackers down the middle of the bloody blimming middle dual carriageway. It was totally, totally nuts, and kind of continued that way for our time together. We took 5 weeks cycling to Beijing. They didn't lie about the Gobi Desert. It was super hot. I think it was topping out at kind of 50 degrees in the middle of the day, and at night time it would be up near 30 degrees, and that would feel cool. So we had some thirsty days and some very dusty days and super tired days. I mean, bless Gao, you're joining in with someone's expedition, and I've got this kind of deadline that I have to be on the east coast of Russia before winter sets in. So I had to lay down the pace, and he sort of had to do it as well, really. We broke it in easily over a few days, but then we had to push some big miles out, which meant regularly doing sort of 100 plus mile days, and there were a lot of crazy headwinds going on out there, so it was slow and tiring work. There was a lot of trucks too. I think the pace of sort of industrialization out in China and sort of that expansion of infrastructure just means that there is a lot of traffic about, a lot of construction, and in this case I think there were sort of 30-40 mile truck jams all carrying coal in the middle of the country there. Just phenomenal. If you've never been to China, just what a mind-blowing place. Mind-blowing place. It was great to be with Gao for so many reasons. It was so it was fun. It was beautiful to see him evolve in his confidence from being really nervous about not being able to do it. And I showed that picture of him sort of pulling his sleeves up. For the first couple of days, he was sort of just posturing around, and I'd say, Gao, we need a break, we need some food or drink, and he'd be like, okay, jumping jacks, lunges. I was like, no, Gao, this is a break, this is resting. And he was just so kind of eager to impress and kind of clueless about what to do with his stuff just because he hadn't done it before. Came to me on the first night and said, have you got one of those psh, psh, psh? Because he'd got his first puncture ever. And just seeing him by the end of the trip helping other people fix their punctures and push out those big days and sort of just see him being confident enough to think of his other own journeys, that was beautiful. But it was fun being together as well, and it made those kind of 20 punctures a day less punctury somehow, because you could just rib each other about the fact they've got another puncture, for example. And certainly one of the things that I really loved was the translations, the fact that he could kind of increase my understanding of China, and it was great that he had good English to be able to do that. And one of my favourite stories happened when we met this guy. So we stopped at a tea house, super tired and ready for food and water, and this guy brought out a load of little cards that had been left by other people that had travelled through. So there's Megan Lewis, who was riding horses from Shanghai back to Wales. There was the guy walking a trolley across the country or something. And the one that really stood out for me was a little card with Joseph Capet cycling around the world 25 years, 5 times round or something like that. And this guy said how he loved this man like a son, Joseph like a son, this Frenchman. Said that about 3 years ago he'd stayed at his house, at the tea house, for about 3 or 4 weeks or maybe longer. But a good period. He was recovering from an illness. And he said, I hope I get to see him again one day. He's like a son to me. And I kind of thought, well, whoa, we've got cell phones. Let's have a look. And so I looked him up, and I found a picture of a bronzed guy with massive sideburns and a big bike. And unfortunately, I was reading his obituary. He'd died just 8 weeks on down the road from this house. So I guess in that case, it's a bit of a double-edged sword to have the language translation, but it felt like we could give him closure. And to think that Joseph's story is still there inspiring us. I mean, the idea of being out on the road when you're 85, isn't that cool? I think that's cool. Do we think that's cool? It's my partner, Luce. We'll be out on the road together. So Gao was my favourite story of the whole journey. Second only to getting engaged to my partner, Lucy, out on the Pacific Ocean. Over the satellite phone. I was solo. But so we made it to Beijing after 35 days together and 4,000 kilometers or something. I made a short film of Gao when we got to the end, and I'm going to play that now.
This is a moment I thought would never happen. We've just landed in Beijing. Really sad it's the end of the Gao era. I think we're going to have BGAG before Gao, after Gao. Great effort from him today, 198 kilometers.
Drive to Urumqi, and I saw you. And my brother said to me, if you dare to come with her and ride to Beijing, I give you the money. Yeah, I said, why not? Just do it. Crazy. Every day is hard, but when you finish this travel, I think the past is not very hard enough. It's a kind of the happiness. So 1 month just passed soon, too quick. Stranger, like a friend, the first day you just knew it, you should learn to it, you should know it, and you should let him to know you. That is the first day I gave his name, stranger. I learned how to fix the problems. So now we like the older friend. It's not good, really. He's not the best, but he is good. Yeah, of course, but not right away. I just think fly to Beijing. If you want to do something, just do it. Don't worry about anything, just do it. It's 3 words. I am happiness. Happiness. I can use this word, happiness.
So Gao's my favourite story because it just shows that, well, we all get scared of stuff, and it's often those kind of doubts about stuff being difficult. Are we going to make it? What are other people going to think of it? Just all those demons that seem to just come out of the woodwork when there's something that we kind of want to do, but maybe we're a bit nervous of going for it. And I think just Gao epitomises the way that if you commit yourself to something and sort of give yourself up to it and see how it goes, how that journey progresses, then it can be such a beautiful thing. So I made that film literally just after we cycled together, and we kept in touch probably for a couple of years or so. And then he just went quiet. I don't know if it was, sorry buddy, I'll get the mic. I don't know if that was just a sort of a guy thing or what. I thought, well, I hope he's out with strangers somewhere on his bike. And I kept trying to email him and call him and email and call, and nothing was happening. Until a few weeks ago, coming to the end of writing my book, I thought, I want to write him into the end of the story. What happens to Gao? And so I dialed the numbers +81, thinking he wasn't going to pick up, and ni hao, hello? Gao, hi buddy, it's Sarah from England. Oh, hi Potter, how are you? He used to call me Potter because he said I could magic anything that he needed out of my bike. And so he apologized for not being in touch. Oh, my bad, Sarah, I'm so sorry, my bad. And we had a chat, it's like, oh, how are you going? Well, Sarah, I've got a surprise for you. I'm married. Oh, wow, Gao, that's great. So his new wife is called Tian Tian. I mean, I say new wife, it wasn't his old wife before, just his first ever brand new wife, Tian Tian. And I said, oh, that's great. So have you got a bike? Are you riding much these days? He said, oh, yeah, Sarah, I've got a new bike. What did you go for, Gao? Oh, you know me, a mountain bike. And Gao, what's it called? Oh, of course, Sarah, Stranger 2. So he's got his bike and his wife, and seems great. Manager of some kind of company. I can't quite remember what he said. And I said, well, we have to work out how and when can we meet up? Maybe we'll come and visit you, because I just told him that I also had a wife now, and he went silent. I was like, no, you can do that in my country now. It's pretty cool. Silence. It's like, yeah, Gao. And then he said, so, do you love her, Sarah? I said, yes, Gao, I do, very much. Oh, that's okay then. We both have something in common now. And so we both got wives, and I said, so we've got to meet up. When can this happen? And I was thinking maybe in a couple of years, maybe something like that. And anyway, Gao said, oh yeah, of course, we'd love to come to England. I'm quite free next month. And there was a part of me going, of course you're not going to come next month. And then there's the other part going, no, this is Gao, of course he will. Anyway, so 4 days later or so, he said, so here's the details of our tour. We're booked on a tour, and he's coming in October for 10 days and doing a crazy tour of England with a sort of travel company. But we will see each other for a couple of those days. And it feels beautiful to know that he's still out there doing his thing and doing great things. And that his story, that's the really cool thing for me, is his story at the end there saying, I am happiness. That's how good it feels when you achieve a goal that you didn't think you could do. And his message to the world of, well, just go and have a go. If you want to do something, just do it.